Hi, I'm Maura Eliza. Welcome. This is a video from Flex Health with Maura, and we're here with Michelle, and she is going to share her experience after doing bioresonance feedback therapy. So let's talk a little bit about your before, what brought you to bioresonance feedback therapy, what made you take the leap and try it out.
Well, I'm just generally very interested in different natural healing and different methods of and therapies to just stay healthy more proactively than anything. I've tried a bunch of different things, and so when I met Maura and got to learn a little bit more about bioresonance feedback therapy, I was just very curious and very interested in just finding out like what is it, how does it work, um, you know, what could it do for me? I didn't have any major health concerns, but I still always went, I don't really know all the time because I don't go to the doctor regularly and I don't do all the things that, everyone, normal people do. So I'm not really ever quite sure if something's happening inside of me, but so I always want to just check up and make sure that I try different things and look at things from different perspectives. And so that's why I decided to try it.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up this point about, we think of the annual screenings and things like that. And the evidence, when we look at those broad scale, they actually haven't moved the bar on either
Right.
cancer survivability. They're actually maybe picking up things that the body can handle that don't need to be treated. And so we have like an explosion of treatment where people are maybe over
Like
treating
reacting.
issues
Yeah.
exactly and reacting, and people who were naturally healing things but we didn't know because we weren't screening them all the time. When doctors now have this evidence that, like, oh, there was a mass, then they become liable. So people don't always think about like that component, because then they'll start
Yeah.
pushing for to do the most to prove that, on at least some level they were, doing their due diligence. And the bioresonance feedback, for anybody who doesn't know, is energetic. So it's not the same as getting a blood test or anything like that, but everything that happens to our body physically has an energetic component to it. So sometimes we'll see things that aren't physically manifesting and they later physically manifest. But if we can get at the energy level, then we can actually change and see the body and support the
Right.
body and its ability to heal, things like that. So, and I think I remember, if you don't mind me sharing, that you had some family
Yeah.
history.
Right. That's another thing. So my mom and basically all her sisters in the past 10 years have died from pancreatic cancer.
Oh,
So that's always something that's just like in the back of my mind, like, is this genetic? Is that, is something, happening with my pancreas that I don't know about because it probably happens over a long period of time. And they just didn't find out till way too late. So that's something I'm always just kind of keeping an eye on.
yeah. And do you remember if anything showed up on your pancreas on your first
It
test?
did. So, yeah, so there were a couple of things. So I had some like circulation issues that I've always had. I have varicose veins. And right before we started, there some like I had like an eruption of like one vessel that was so weird and never had happened. So that was kind of a pre-existing thing that I've always wanted to keep a check on. Then the pancreas and my thyroid, I have like I don't not like weight issues, but it's definitely very hard for me to like lose weight and things like that. So I always have wondered if something's, underactive with my thyroid. So all those three concerns kind of coming in, while not like major things, they all showed up on the scan as, areas with some concerns or just that needed some work. And so that was interesting to see because, things that I kind of had was wondering about definitely were areas that needed some kind of attention. So it was good to see that on the scan and then to work on it over time and see that improve from that first scan throughout like the last, how long has it been now? Like 9 months or whatever. So
Yeah, can we talk about a little bit about your like progression over the last 9 or 10 months?
yeah, so we started in January, I think, or early February, and then and that was that very first scan, and it came up with those areas that I just mentioned, plus, a couple others that I was a little surprised about. Like I think my right eye had some like
Oh,
stress, and that was, and I didn't ever realize that. And just a couple other areas that we worked on over time, and we did 4 months, or I think it was 4 months, and we spread out the sessions over that time, and then took a little bit of a break because I was feeling okay. The scans had improved. There were still a couple little things here and there, but generally it was pretty good. So we took a break for 3 or 4 months and then kind of came back and did another scan. And for the most part, like my body was holding a lot of the improvements that we had made, but there were still like some of these areas like pancreas and things that still just needed, had kind of regressed a little bit. So we decided to do kind of another few months to 2 months to kind of, bring it back up and see if it'll hold again. So yeah, that's been my journey. And so far it's been really good. I feel great. The scans, keep showing improvement. So
Yeah,
um,
it seemed like your body in that break time was continuing to heal and respond. So we target the specific organs that come up. And again, people who are watching this maybe haven't been through the process. I don't put any symptoms in. I put in your name, your birthday. If you know your blood type, I put that in. Your sex. That's all the information that's put in. And so the scan is like kind of like double blind. The device doesn't know what to look for.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't always know what to look for. You and I had talked a little bit about your history and stuff, so I kind of knew. But during that break, your body continued to just do its work. It's like it gives it, you take the stress down in the rest of the body, and then it has more energy to do things. But yeah, then we did another like shorter session. So it wasn't a full 24, it was about 12 more sessions.
Hmm.
And I'm just running out of things to work on.
The funny part is that I know that it's working because if you remember in that during when we took the break, I had kind of picked up a little bit, not a habit, but I had started, it was summertime, we were outside a lot, and I had started to pick up a little bit of a bad habit. And as soon as we did the next scan, when we started back up, like that all showed up on the scan, and I hadn't told you about this. So I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is legit. Like,
Right. That is, I had kind of forgotten about that. That's so. So you were already kind of feeling good when you started. Did you notice any changes during that first round where we did kind of the more intense? I think we did 24 sessions back over 2 months.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I wasn't like having any chronic issues or anything, I didn't notice like a night and day difference or anything. But generally, I mean, I felt really good. I had a lot of energy. I think the circulation in my leg definitely had improved. And we went kind of back to normal, if you will. And from that flare up that I had. And so yeah, from like how I could tell, I generally just felt really good and energetic and was sleeping well and things like that. So that's
Oh,
always good and
amazing.
good indicator that things are running smoothly. So
Yeah. And it's a remote service. So you were in your home. I was, working where the device is. So you don't have to come in, which is nice because otherwise you'd be coming in you live kind of far away. You'd be coming in 3 times.
yeah.
Even if you live down the block, that's a lot to do, for a service. Some people notice because of the quantum entanglement, they'll notice some tingling, something like that, or sleeping better. Did you have anything like that you noticed on the times when I was working on you?
I mostly like the main thing that I felt was I didn't feel a lot of tingling or anything, but mostly I was like tired on those days or like after it had been done. I slept really well and I was like tired that day. So afterwards. So that's kind of like the main thing that I noticed.
Yeah, you noticed
When
that.
I thought back, about anything common about how I felt after each scan, and that was the biggest kind of thing
Did you
that I
sleep?
noticed.
Did you notice any changes in your sleep on the ones when they were running on you at night?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like slept really deeply, during those nights.
Yeah,
So
that's that's consistent with what I hear from a lot of people. So, okay, just checking. So what would you say to anyone who is considering bioresonance feedback?
I think it's definitely worth looking into and trying out. It's a totally different way of like attacking or I mean addressing any of your health concerns. Like you said, it's not like a blood test or very physical. It's more like energetic. And so it's a different perspective or a different way to handle things. So especially for people who have maybe been going to the doctor and not really having good results, this might be something that's just very different and it could end up working. So I mean that's kind of the interesting part. I mean, I've seen Ayurvedic practitioners, I've seen integrative medicine doctors, and not a lot, but every couple of years I'll go and like check out a new, thing. And
Yes.
so, nutritionists, I do massages regularly, stuff like that. But this is just very different. That was the cool part about it, is that um I had never done anything like that before. So I would recommend people to try it out and just see how their body responds, because you never know until you try it. So
Yeah.
I've had very positive experience. So can't hurt, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it was really cool watching your scans and what you're saying about energy. The thyroid actually brings up the mitochondria. It's what produces the mitochondria for our cells, which are like the powerhouse and the energy producers. And your thyroid was like one area that we consistently worked on. So it's like it all like nuts and bolts and makes sense together. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, we did like some pretty regular coaching check-ins. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that was helpful to just kind of stay aware of, when the scans were happening. And you always send a text ahead of time. So I knew like, okay, it was going to be happening. And then just check in to see, are you feeling different? Like, here's what we worked on, just to understand that. And then there were always random questions that I had around something else that was going on. And it was awesome to just have you say, oh yeah, try this, try that, order this. And you would give me links and references. And, I've ordered like so many things and tried different detoxes and, coffee enemas and things that I would not maybe have tried. But so I also got kind of the added benefit through those consults of like being able to ask you all kinds of other questions and get your knowledge on how to address some of those things, even with my son and his eye and things. So that was really helpful as well, an added benefit.
Good. I'm glad. I was curious to hear like how the consulting helps, because I think it's really important when people, this is such a passive service, you don't really, it couldn't be more convenient, it couldn't be easier, but I think there is
Right.
a really important component to it. And I knew that you already were a person who is really active and involved in taking care of your health, but having the additional support. So I'm glad to hear that it was really helpful with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to share?
Um, no, just that it's been a really cool experience. And I'm grateful to have met you and to have kind of gotten in that conversation on New Year's Day, was it?
Right. Yeah.
And just like, get like this knowledge, an extra knowledge source, and just try out something new. I think it's definitely benefited me. So
Awesome.
um very glad.